Hey, welcome everyone. So we got about 30 people here. I know a ton of people registered, so we can get started. Welcome in. Chad, how's everything going in your world? I know it's what, last Thursday we connected on your podcast. How's everything with you?
Wonderful. It's 6 p.m. my time. It's beautiful blue skies, and the beach is calling. But other than that, I'm here with you
I
because
love
this
it.
matters.
I love it. Well, let's get rolling here. So we're going to talk about my journey, all right? So from zero to thousands of followers and millions of views, and I do want to say from the outset, that's obviously kind of a hook, but I'm actually a big believer that followers don't actually really matter that much. What really matters is do you have the right people following you, like the depth of quality of those followers matters. But I will say when it comes to video, I've done pretty decent on video. So I'm going to share with you guys some of like my biggest tips, my biggest takeaway, and then we'll take a look at how I think Job Pixel is revolutionizing recruitment with video as well, and we'll take a look at some of their examples as well. So, yeah. So my number one tip here, and we're going to share one of my earlier videos in a moment. But my number one tip, which is really embarrassing. My wife made fun of me for this video. But my number one tip for everybody is don't be afraid to start. Okay, and I think Chad, you've how long have you been doing your podcast for?
7 years,
7 years.
and it
And
sucked right out of the gate, man. I mean, the only way you can get it better is to start, right?
yeah, 100%. It's the same. I think with the recruiting, it's the exact same thing. I remember my first ever cold call and calling a
Mm-hmm.
candidate. I had no idea what the what the role was because I was an agency. It wasn't really prepared. And my manager was like, "You just got to make the phone call. Like you have to call this person if you want to be a recruiter at our company." And I remember that first phone call was terrible. I fumbled all over it. And the only way though I got better was by making that first call. So that's always the first step. So I'm going to show you because I think a lot of people look at my videos, they look at my setup right now and go, "Oh, I can't do that." We're gonna take a window into take a look at like where I started. All right, so you guys ready for this? It's already so bad. This is it.
You look like a teenage mutant ninja turtle.
Can you guys hear this too?
Oh no.
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 All right. Let me. I'm gonna stop share for 1 second, and I'm going to reshare with the sound so you guys can hear this because I want you guys to hear how bad this was. So this is all about making fun of me. This whole webinar. Here we go.
Happy Monday morning, LinkedIn fam. As you can see, I'm still in the sling. Thank you for all of your kind words and support. It's greatly appreciated. This morning, I wanted to focus on 3 questions that you can ask to unlock a candidate conversation.
Okay, and look, I'm not gonna put you guys through this whole thing, but you can see. All right, you Chad, you're on mute.
Sorry. I say no.
Yeah,
I
it's
love it. This is amazing. I don't know why you're stopping it.
I think my favorite part is like the little glasses tilt there. I don't. My wife's
How
just
long ago
been
was
doing that
this?
all
How
day.
long? How long
This
ago
is
was this?
5 years ago.
See, look at that. It's like you've grown up right in front of our eyes.
Yeah, so this 5 years ago. I mean, look at those. This was a time too where like most tools now give you free captions. I had to pay for these captions. It was 10 cents for me to pay for these captions. Um, but look, I play this video because this is where I started. And so I promise you, any of you who are thinking about doing video or you're like, man, video is intimidating, go to my video tab on LinkedIn, scroll down and just watch my first videos because they're all like this. And somehow nobody was friendly enough to tell me how bad these videos were. But look, Chad, what if we go back to your first episodes of Chad and Cheese? What would that be like?
Horrible. Audio was horrible. Just the framing format. I mean, just all of it. I mean, it was 7 years ago, but yeah, I mean, it was horrible. There's a lot of evolution that needs to happen, and the only way you can do that is to actually just get it out there and then let people listen, see. I mean, it's you got to do it because if you don't, then you're just going to be stuck in this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Joel version for the rest of your life.
Uh, I love that. And even this screenshot here is amazing. But
That's
all
great.
right.
That's
Happy
great.
Monday morning.
So And this actually brings us to the second tip, right? My second tip is consistency. And I think people talk about consistency all the time, and I think it's a word that gets played a lot. But the truth is, you don't get better at recruiting, you don't get better at sales, you don't get better at writing, you don't get better at podcasting, you don't get better at anything without some level of consistency. I would love for more recruiters to be consistently creating a video a week, one video a week. That's consistency. Could be 2 videos a week, 3 videos, but consistency in my mind is you're doing something regular enough to get better at it. And I know, recruiters are busy. I get it. I'm a recruiter. I know how it is, but the reality is you just get better the more you do it. And that's what I've really leaned into. And I want to give some context here. I've created 3 or 4 thousand videos, and that was just last year. And so a lot of times people are like, "Oh, how you got so good on video?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've repeated it over and over." Chad, I know we were on your podcast last week, and you said how many episodes have you done, or like how many episodes of your podcast have you done?
Close to 1,300.
1,300. That's 1,300 hours of like podcasting
Just
time,
about. Yeah, 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 yeah.
which is
Yeah.
amazing, right? And I'm not suggesting do 1,300 videos, do thousands of videos, but I would say like the level of consistency you need to be at. Once you get to 10, 20, 30 videos, you just see an improvement because you get more confident. People around you are actually able to give you support, and especially working with a team. If you're able to keep each other accountable, it's huge. So what are your thoughts with the consistency piece?
Consistency is key. When Joel and I started the podcast, even though it sucked right out of the gate, we agreed that consistency would be every single week for a year, right? To be able to set that in. And after a year, if we felt like, it was good enough and listeners thought it was good enough, and it got the engagement we hoped it would get, then we would move forward, and it did. And this is a lot like compound interest to some extent, right? So you're putting a lot of content that's out there about your organization, about yourself, doesn't matter, right? And it's just going to continue to churn. And then as you start to have more content on YouTube, on your website, no matter where it's at, it's just going to continue and continue to grow, which is wonderful. So again, it's like having close to 1,300 episodes now. Think of the compound interest on all of those episodes versus like the first 20 that we did. So it's really important.
Yeah. Yep. And I love it, right? So it's like you not only get when I think about candidate perspective, more candidates are going to know you, more of the people you're looking to reach are going to get to know you.
Hmm.
But then you're equally getting better as you go along. So it's compounding in various ways. So I'm going to show you a more recent video that I did. And this video was on a platform I like to call TikTok. And so if any of you guys have seen any of my content on TikTok, this was really the platform that transformed my mind when it came to video content.
Yeah.
And I know one of the big questions people ask is, well, it's just a bunch of kids on there. I kid you not, I was at an HR dinner with HR leaders 2 weeks ago, and 2 of the HR leaders, these are senior level people, said, "I love your TikToks." Okay, and so because one of the big things people say, "Oh no, my candidate's on there." I promise you this: you go to a hospital, you're gonna see nurses on their phones. You go to anywhere, you're gonna see people on their phones, and this is where they're at. Maybe not TikTok, maybe it's Instagram, but they're on social media. And this is why I think this skill is huge. So this is a video that I did, and this is called "Applying for a Job in 2024," and you'll see the difference between these videos. Hi, I'd like to apply for that job that you've had open for the last few months. We love to hear that. Could you please send through your resume? Absolutely. Here's my resume. Thank you for sending your resume. Could you please fill out this application with the same exact information that you have on your resume? It will help us out a lot. No worries. I'm happy to spend 30 minutes filling out the exact same information that was on my resume if it helps you guys in this process. Thank you for doing that. We're really excited that you applied for this job that we've had open for the last few months. We will be in touch as soon as possible regarding next steps. Thank you so much. I'm super excited to work for a company like yours, and I can start right away. We regret to inform you that at this time, we have decided to pursue other candidates for the position that you applied for. What,
Ouch.
really? I just saw the same exact job posting again online. I told you guys, I think I'd be the perfect fit, and I'm so motivated to work for you. I'll even work for $10,000 less than I'm looking for. Message is undeliverable. At this time, we cannot receive messages to this inbox. Remember to sign up for our jobs community to find out about new jobs in the future. Thank you very much, and we care about you. All right. So one of the things that has happened over time is I've gotten better and realized what is the type of content that people respond to. One of the types of content that people do respond to is humor. But you can see there I've put together a scenario that's going to be really relatable for a lot of people applying to a
Mhm.
job. Use some humor in there. And but also if you look, like, I'm way more comfortable on the camera. I'm having fun, but some things haven't changed. Like the production value there, I mean, it's not the greatest, right? You can hear stuff in the background, but this video on LinkedIn, I think this video got 300 to 400 reactions. On TikTok, got millions of views. On Instagram, got millions of views. And so the reason I show this video is because there's room for creativity, right? Getting relatable with people is huge. And I think this is like where you can get to with teams. And we're going to look at some examples of companies that have done a really good job with this. Um, but this didn't happen overnight. This is years into my journey that I've been able to kind of do videos like this. So thoughts on this type of video, Chad?
It's literally it's just truthful. It's authentic. It is the Chad and Cheese HR's Most Dangerous Podcast. That's why people listen. That's why they like us a lot of times, because it's things that they can't say themselves. So
Yep.
it's good to see, and then they'll share this, and it's like, well, I didn't say it, but it just is something that resonates with them, that they deal with on a daily basis. So it's not all pomp and circumstance. Now, if you work at a great place, that's awesome. You can talk about it, but talk about it in real terms, right? Instead of, this is a great place to work. We have a ping pong table, something of that nature. Just be authentic, be your true self, and don't be afraid to add, I really didn't like the brownies the other day, but it was great that they brought them in. Just stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. It's authenticity, right? But I think you find that authenticity, and again, that's a buzzword, but you find that in content the more you do it. Like you
Yeah.
find your voice, you kind of hit your groove, you see what works, right?
Yeah. 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 And it was funny because I guess you could say, to some extent, we were a testing audience, and we had a PG-13 rule, and that was PG-13 movies. You have one F-bomb. That's all you're allowed, right? So we had that rule for probably the first year, maybe year and a half at Chad and Cheese. Then we went to a Sherm Talent, and because we thought we'd scare off mainly the old HR ladies, and really, we're a couple of dumb white dudes, right? Talking about stuff that we know, tech, HR, recruitment, talent management, that kind of stuff. And we had so many of those HR ladies come up to us say, you're saying exactly what we've been thinking for years, and we love listening to your podcast. And I say, well, why? And they said, well, because you're authentic. And my question was, well, what does that mean? And they said, you say it exactly. We feel like you're saying it exactly like it is for you, and you're not pulling any punches. Now, sometimes you can get away with that. We can get away with that, right? Sometimes you need to tone it down a little bit. At that point, we didn't tone it down. We went from PG-13 to R at that point, because then we didn't limit ourselves to that PG-13 format. We went further, and it resonated with more people, believe it or not.
No, I believe it, and I think obviously you've got to know your authentic brand. You got to also know the companies you're working with as well, within that. But again, I think you find that through time, and it's not like the first podcast you even did, or the first video I did. Like you jump into that place, you just
No.
because you have to get comfortable with it too. And I will say, I think camera and just video in general, um, for most people I've talked to, is extremely daunting, and it's scary. So if that's how you feel,
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt at the beginning, which is why, like, if you listen to that first video again, or you go back and look at those earlier videos, it was kind of a little bit scripted, and like it wasn't, it wasn't, it wasn't easy. But as time goes
Hi, I'd
by,
like to.
that authenticity happens, and that's really the third part. And this is where I think, as recruiters, one of the biggest complaints, because I talk to a lot of job seekers, is I just think recruiting brand as a whole is just, it's been tainted, right? You got ghosting. All you need to do is go on LinkedIn for a day and scroll, and you'll see some complaints. And that's
Yeah.
why I think there's a lot of room for just, hey, let's show candidates that we are human. And video is a great way to do that. It's just, I don't know a better way to kind of get that authenticity across. And what we're seeing is a lot of the scripted, like career page videos, like they have its place, but there's
Yeah.
this new emergence, and you see it on TikTok. I'm gonna look at one of these videos. There's this like talking head video that's doing really, really well right now, and it's because it's authentic, it's not overly produced, and the way I equate it is it's like you're literally holding the phone, and it's like, and this is how I imagine it. It's like you're FaceTiming like 100 people. Now, the way I imagine it in my head when I'm doing these videos, it's like I'm just FaceTiming someone I know. So I'm talking like it's a FaceTime. And those videos are extremely powerful. And it's, when you look at any video that's going viral right now, these are the types of videos. So I'm going to show you one of these. And Chad, I'd love to get your thoughts on this as well.
Okay. And
Um,
apparently the chat is open for business. So
oh, sweet. Love
there
it.
you go.
All right. Well, Tamara, good to see you. Chad, Katrina, good to see you. So yeah, if you guys have questions too, get in the chat now that it's open. And again, I would love to just know like where you're calling in from as well. I always like to know that. So I'm gonna look at so we're talking about authentic videos. Now, hopefully you'll understand like the message of this video as well and kind of understand it, but it's authentic. This video I think got, I don't know, 200,000 views, something silly. And it took about a minute to make, which is really good ROI when you think about it. But if I play this,
I don't know who needs to hear this,
classic hook
but
line.
even if you have a cool boss, you can ultimately not fully trust them. In fact, sometimes people make the huge mistake when they have a boss that's relatable, that understands them, that they even get along with. Sometimes you can get too comfortable and tell them the wrong thing. For example, maybe you have a bad week at work, you're looking to.
All right, I'm again, I'm not gonna play the whole video, but a couple of things that I really want to point out here is, do you see how big my face is? This is and this is vulnerable place for people, all right? But I've noticed because I never used to do videos like this, and I
Yeah.
noticed like this looks like a FaceTime, and this is where and the reason I think these videos do well is because we've been programmed over the last couple of years to FaceTimes and Zooms, and so it's like it's like almost like I'm FaceTiming the audience directly, and then you can see got some captions in there. Captions are really important. This is to help people just kind of read and follow along.
Hmm.
But you'll also notice there's no kind of crazy edits on here. There's no like zip zang or anything like that. It's just me talking into the camera. And there was a time where I think there was like overly editing videos was a thing, and I think it was good. But I'm telling you, these types of videos are just gaining traction, and I think it's because it's just, I don't know, it's authentic. So what are your thoughts with this type of style?
I love the hat, the bill, like framing it. I noticed that like the first time I saw one, I'm like, holy what's going on there? And then the next one, and not to mention, you start off with the words right in front of your face, right? And you start talking over them, and I'm like, what is going on here? And then they go away, but you got me into the video. Now I'm interested, right? Also, kind of like the I don't need to hear this kind of hook. There are a lot of those hooks that are out there that draw people in, that keep them all the way through the video, especially if you're doing the short. So you're doing something that's a minute or so long. Or
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and look, I think this is a style which I've seen work. I'm not saying this is the style that everyone needs to follow in terms of like the red that I've got here, this big headline.
Yeah.
But I tell you what I didn't do necessarily in this video, and this is something where I think if you're recruiting people, you should do this. You should have like an introduction of who you are, right? If you're recruiting them. But if you're putting out videos on social media, this is a big thing people forget is you have like 2 to 5 seconds to hook somebody's attention.
Yep.
And so, great poll here. I love. Oh, that is hilarious. And I love that I can't even vote on this. That's awesome.
God damn it. I can't hit yup.
I can't. No, I need to be even closer. And sometimes I will zoom in, by the way, to do this. But what I will say with this is these videos, I've gotten way better at them now. So it takes me about one try, but I still stop and start the video. So you'll see. I'm just gonna look
I
here.
don't know who needs to hear this, but even if you have a cool boss, you can ultimately not fully trust them.
Okay, so
fact-
you see that little clip right there? That was a second take. And so I this is another strategy that I've learned. So anyway, that's those are my 3 tips, right? So number one, you gotta start. Number two, you gotta be consistent. And then number three, and this takes a little bit of time and it comes with the consistency, you just gotta be yourself. And
And put your
so
face right up in the camera.
face right up in the camera, and look, this it's working. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
Fact, I don't know who needs to hear.
All right, I'm not gonna go. Okay, so those are my kind of 3 tips. We wanted to open it up at this time for just a couple questions. So if you guys have any questions around creating content, we'll take like 3 or 4 questions from the audience, and then we're gonna take a look at Job Pixel here as well because it's a great tool. And we got Babyface. We can. Look, I think look, I can. The funny thing is, I think with these videos too, is the reason they do well is because they're authentic, but also people I think, are afraid to do it, and this can be a competitive advantage. And I saw a
Yeah.
stat yesterday about how many emails that are going out. It was like 3 billion, and it was like those emails are going up. And I made a comment and say, how many of those emails have video in them? And I'm guessing a small percentage of them. And so this is how you get a competitive edge, right? So question is in the Q&A. What's the question? Who wants to I don't know where the Q&A is. Omar, you got that? Chad?
We got Mike. Okay.
Yeah. So are you editing within TikTok is a question from Katrina.
I do use the TikTok editing, but it's minor, and it's just basically I just add subtitles in it. So, but it's very minimal editing that I do on any of my videos.
Yeah, well, we do videos for the podcast, but I mean, the podcast is close to an hour long. So we're lucky enough to have a video editor do it because my dumbass doesn't have the time to do it. So being able to actually have those videos, and then we will load them, or I will load them up into a platform like JobPixel, and then there's a widget on our website, and then it just shows on the website. So it makes it nice because you have this library of content that is stored, and again, we use JobPixel to be able to do that, and then where you can set up the widgets, and then you can feed widgets with the relevant type of content. So whether you're doing it like Joel's doing it, incredibly authentic, and or if you've got somebody who's cutting it down like we do at Chad and Cheese, I think it's incredibly smart that you keep that content stored somewhere, not just on TikTok, right, but on your own kind of like storage area, so that you can use it later too.
Yep, I love that.
Tamara asked, how often should you put out a new video?
Great. That's an amazing question. I think consistency for me is the big piece, right? Which we talked about. So I think you have to set a pace that is doable for you. I would love to see everybody doing once a week. I think once a week is a good baseline. But you got to keep this in mind. The more you do, the quicker you get at it, and the more volume you can do. So that first video that I showed you, that took me about an hour to do, which is sad to say. But I scripted out. I scripted it out. I like made the points. I was like reading it. It took me 100 takes. That last video you saw, or those last 2 videos, even that skit one, I just did in one take because I've gotten better at it. And this is anything you do over and over and over, you get better at it and you get more efficient. So I say start if you can aim for once a week. I think, hey, if you've got an open job you're looking to recruit for, maybe it's every time you get a new open job, you're able to create a video. Maybe that's the pace that you do. And then it's a case of, like anything, you got to commit to it. So that's why I say maybe commit to it once a week. It's a little bit easier to stick to. And then as you get better, maybe it's twice a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. Now, what I will also say, LinkedIn is testing a video feed. And I'm seeing changes on LinkedIn where this is going to become more and more relevant. They're testing a suggested field on your news feed. So I don't know if you've seen that on your news feed where it will actually show you suggested content, which is kind of like TikTok's For You page or like with these algorithms. But they're also testing a video function, which means that videos on LinkedIn, they are going to be pushing those videos in the near future if they're not already doing it right now.
Oh,
So
yeah. Well, and think about it because video, I mean, I shouldn't say video, but YouTube is actually the number one podcasting platform now. I mean, Spotify, you would think, Apple Podcasts, no, YouTube. I mean, so people are consuming content visually, and I mean they can also listen to it at the same time. So it's one of those things, you can listen to it, you can have it on YouTube, you can have it in video. It's just it's easier to consume, not to mention when we're talking about authenticity, you can see that person's face, you can see the emotion, you can see those types of things, and that draws people in, and that's really what you're looking for from an engagement standpoint.
100%. Yeah, and I think too, like the consistency is big too, because your candidates, people you're trying to recruit, the more they know you beforehand, before having that conversation, then they're going to respond to your email. So a great strategy is, you connecting with people on LinkedIn, for example, if we're looking at LinkedIn, connect with 10 of those candidates, then you're creating video. They see you, they feel you, they're more likely to respond to you, right? I know we're gonna start to look at that. So I think there was another question too.
Yeah.
What about like
Chris
how long?
Watson.
Yeah,
So,
Chris, what was Chris's question?
yeah. When do you pivot and when do you stay consistent on one area? Is the 1 year mark the trial period, 52 attempts? Essentially, I'm assuming 52 weeks. Yeah,
Yeah.
every a video a week.
Yeah, I would say look, I guess I'm not necessarily following the full question. Are you saying like when should you
Pivot your strategy
Move.
to content.
pivot your strategy? Man, I wouldn't go that long. I would say like 3 months would be like if 3 months you're not getting any traction, then you need to make changes. And again, it's kind of like that going back to the beginning of like just starting. I'm the same with trying new things. Like you see something that's interesting, try it, particularly with video. Like I just had one of my friends who's just started doing video.
Hmm.
He did a rap. Okay, and like that's his style though. And then we actually went to a networking group recently in Milwaukee locally, and the first thing his head of TA said, he was like, "Hey, aren't you the guy that does the raps on LinkedIn?" And it's like, well, what does that mean? Well, it means just by him being himself, doing his thing, he's getting that noticeability, right? And so it's that awareness is huge. So I think trying things is huge. If something's not working, couple months and then try something new.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. And
Well,
then someone said, what even if the
real,
content is bad?
Yeah, real quick though, I think that again, if you're passionate about something, that's going to come through. If you start feeling more comfortable and you can do more than once a week, then start doing more than once a week. So don't limit yourself to just once a week for 52 weeks. When we started Chat and Cheese on the podcast, we went about 6 months. We had one per week, and that's what we had committed each other to. We started to see liftoff with listeners and with followers and whatnot. So we actually started an entirely new series under the Chad and Cheese brand. And today we do anywhere from 3 to 4 podcasts a week, which is a lot of work. But it's what we're comfortable doing. It's what people will listen to. It's what people want, and it's the type of content that they want. So you will be able to, once you start doing it, you'll be able to kind of navigate your way and see, if it feels right for you. If you just are doing one a week for 52 weeks, great. If that's all you can handle just from a bandwidth standpoint, that's awesome. But if you
Yeah.
really start getting good at it and you're throwing out 3 or 4 a week, good for you, man. Knock it out.
Yeah. I love that. It's great
All right.
advice.
We have one last question from
Cool.
Gio. Gio, good to have you here. If once a week, do you post the same time and day each week, or do you change it up? It's a
That's
great
a
question.
great question. In general, my thought is with content is you want to try and post at the same time. It's like, I mean, same with podcast, right? Like you want to have the same release because there is something with audience building.
Yeah.
You want people to know when you're going to post. So I typically post 7:30 in the morning. Now, what I will say is, if to Chris's point, like if that's not working for you, then maybe you try a couple posts at a different time in the day. But whatever that time is, pick it so people can like start to like follow it and they'll start to anticipate it. But I will say, like, I'm definitely not one of those people who's like, oh, 2 p.m. is when you need to do the perfect post. The thing that determines whether or not a post does well is purely based on like, is it good content or not good content? Like that, which is hard for people to hear, but it's the truth. I don't know.
Yeah. When you also have to take a look at your platform. So from a podcast standpoint, we know, and I actually did research and then started testing the waters on when we should start putting them out. And then we started seeing where we got the best traction. When we start doing videos, YouTube is different time than TikTok. Because they're entirely, I wouldn't say entirely different, but they're different audiences. And people are looking at TikTok at different times in the day
Sure.
versus YouTube versus LinkedIn. So, like LinkedIn, let somebody get in the morning, they've drank their coffee around 9 or something like that. Like Joel was talking about 7. They get to the point where it's like, oh, I'm going to jump in, warm up my day with a little LinkedIn. Oh, look, there's a video. So depending on the channel, there might be different tweaks that you have to do from a timing standpoint.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. Well, these are great questions, amazing questions. We're going to kind of move on, but then if you do have further questions, just get in the chat, ask those questions, and we'll do our best to get back to them. We're going to take a look at, really just again, some of the data behind the power of video. And obviously we've heard this term, right? Personal brand. We're hearing it more and more and more. And I'm obviously a big advocate for this. What I will say with any of the personal brand building, what you do offline matters just as much as what you do online. Okay. And this is where being authentic is big. So if you're like in a video, like, oh, I love people and people are the most amazing people, and then people meet you and like you hate people, that's not going to be effective. And it's the same with candidates, right? If you're like, hey, I don't ghost anybody, I don't do this, and blah, 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 and then you ghost people, that's not going to be powerful. But when it comes to video, one of the biggest questions I get is, like what platform do you? We already had that question. Like, where do you do your editing, right? TikTok. Do I have to download something? Do I have to do different things? I think when you're working as a team, you want to make it as frictionless as possible to be able to produce video. And this is where a platform like Job Pixel makes it easy because you don't have to download anything. You can literally just make a video with a link. So I'm going to show you how this works, and hopefully my screen here, the sound is going to work as well. So I'm just going to play this. So look, you basically can request videos from anyone on your team. And this is where working together is huge. Add them, send a request. They get the link, and you just create the video. So you probably have seen a couple of these videos that I made as well using Job Pixel. Love it. And so what you're able to do is like, obviously on TikTok, that's an individual platform. There's not really a way to like work as a team. You're working as a team, you're able to seamlessly produce videos without having to download anything weird, which is usually like what stops most people from trying stuff. Um, so when we look at the data around this, Chad, I'd love to love your thoughts on this as well, because obviously, you've kind of seen some of this hands on as well. But when you look at the data, I mean, 282% increase in time on the actual like job description on the career
Yeah.
site, right?
Yeah.
34% increased conversion rate, and then 25% decreased bounce rate. So this is where, like, when I shared that stat earlier about 280 billion emails going out, these are recruiting emails, they're sales emails. We'll update. Text is just so easy to do. Like every AI can do text, and this is where I think video really sets you apart.
Yeah, easily. Well, and also if you're using those videos on social and you're leading back to the site, obviously you've already got them there. And if you have more videos for them to consume, that gives you that increased time on site. So if you're drawing them in with that original content, and somebody who, again, somebody said earlier, a video can be hypnotic if somebody's authentic and they're passionate. It will draw you in. Well, if it draws you into the website and then you also have more to consume, if they're interested in a position, they're interested in your organization, they want to find out more. What is the easiest way to do that? Click on the next video. Click on the next video. So 282% increased time on site. Conversion rate, again, you're pulling them in, right? These are people, if you're looking at a job description, you don't know the people. All you're seeing is text. You're seeing black and white. That's all you're seeing. If you're seeing the people that actually work there, day in the life, those types of things, of course you're going to get increased conversion rates, because they feel like they kind of know the people that work there, and you're going to have less bounce, because again, people are going to go to the website, they're going to see the job description, and bounce, right? As opposed to click on the video. And here's the beautiful part: if they click on the job and they're not even qualified for the job, but they start watching a video and they're drawn in to the company, they will actually look for another job on your site, right? So that draws them in, and again, goes back to the increased time on site.
Yeah, I love it. Well, let's take a look here. This was Arkansas Children's Hospital. This is a video that they did that was incredibly successful. And I'd love to know like your comments in the chat too, like as this is going through. So I'm gonna let this play.
We're recruiters. Of course we recruit with creative content.
Work on 4C. Of course we love our new grads.
I'm a 4K nurse. Of course I get team out.
I'm a nurse in the pediatric ICU. Of course our team works together, especially in the most critical time.
We work on 4C. Of course we do diabetic education.
Why not to you, nurse? Of course I'll help you with trach care.
We work on 4C. Of course we throw kidney parties for our transplant patients.
I'm a diabetes nurse. Of course I keep ways to treat low blood sugars on hand at all times.
I work at the Southwest Lateral Clinic. Por supuesto que hablamos español para poder atender a nuestros pacientes en su propio idioma.
I'm a 3D, 3E nurse. Of course I know everything about broken bones.
I'm a medical social worker. Of course I'm going to listen to you without judgment and meet you where you're at.
I'm a burn nurse. Of course I spend half my day doing wound care.
I work in child life. Of course we use medical play to help children cope with hospitalization.
I'm a student nurse intern. Of course I want to work at Arkansas Children's.
We're Arkansas Children's.
I love that. So, okay, so Tamara said so authentic, engaging, love it. Look, I think one of the things I love most about this video is you've got so many different people involved, and this is something which, it's one thing when your recruiters are doing videos, but when you're able to get your employees involved, like this is a definition for me for employer brand, because it's like your actual employees being themselves and like having fun. And obviously this is picking up on that trending video, right? That was like, of course we're so and so, and that was a big trend. And so it's really smart for that reason, but also just getting everybody involved, showing where you're going to work. And I think what's going to be nerve-wracking if you're a new employee is, going somewhere and not knowing people. Watching that, you get a feel for who people are, and it's not like it wasn't like heavily produced. It's a real video, right? So, Chad, what are your thoughts on that?
There were a lot of real people. I think that was the thing for me, right? It's like, oh yeah, well, yeah, sure, she loves to work there. It's like, wait a minute, another one, and then you've got one who took it home, right? So it was one of those things where it's like all these different people. So it's like that. And again, it's not a recruiter. Yes, I'm a recruiter and I want you to come work here, right? It was actually people that work there, right? So, I mean, there are several ways, not to mention it wasn't polished and glamour and all this other fun stuff. It was just real people saying real stuff. And that's the cool part. And I think, I don't know what the stats were on this one, but I bet it did incredibly well.
Yeah, if we have the stats on that, I would love to hear that. as well. I'm going to show a another video. And yeah, and for people who with the sound is just because Zoom is weird with sharing
Stupid
sound.
Zoom.
And but you can put captions on there obviously through Job Pixel, which I always recommend putting captions on videos. Because a lot of people, if you're trying to recruit someone, they're not going to want to listen to like a recruiting video at work, right, with the sound on. So,
Yeah.
same on LinkedIn. So let's take another look here. This is Cognizant. If you can't, the play button's right over it. But this was a video that they posted on LinkedIn, and this video, I mean, it was created, got like over 1,000 likes, which is insane. But I'm gonna play this. Let me know what you think of this video. Ooh, yeah, look at that groove. Mm.
Show me the snacks.
It's cool. Katrina says too slow.
Everything's too slow for Katrina.
Yeah, I think well, and I think too, this was you got to know the market, right? Too. This is I think European market, which I think that's not like I think in Europe maybe they different vibes, right? And there's different styles of videos, but based on the engagement that they got on the video and just the likes, like I know as a content creator, like getting over 1,000 likes on a video is basically going viral on LinkedIn. That's with zero, like that's not with any promotion. There's no paid promotion here. It's just all organic, and through a company page is really hard to get. The trend that they're playing on here is like the day in the life, right? But to Chad's point earlier, if you're just reading a job description, I mean, come on, job descriptions are just really boring. They talk about the person. If I'm a candidate looking at working somewhere, even just seeing the environment that I'm going to be in, that just adds a whole different dynamic than a job description, right?
Yeah.
And then this is going on social as well, so it's like everybody gets to see, hey, this is what it looks like. Again, it wasn't like overly produced. Um, I like the music in the background. I like how they kind of show people again. Um, but these are the videos that are doing well right now. Just showing people the inside view exactly. That's what it is. And if you want to speed it up a bit, just put it on double speed play. That's how you fix that one. Um, so I love those. And again, with these videos, that's just super easy to link. Like even with that past video, you just send people the link. They make the video. They don't have to download anything crazy. I know if you're a recruiting leader and you want to get your team involved in stuff, you got to make it easy. Start adding like tech, then someone's going to complain. But if you can just get a link and make a video, super easy. So I just wanted to hear that again. So what are some of the video use? What are some of the video use cases here? Well, number one, employer branding. It's huge. It's getting more important. And the reason it's getting more important is because to Chad's point earlier, people are just consuming more of this stuff. And you have to look at what's trending and where people are spending time. Social media is like the internet. It's not going away. Okay. I don't care if people think it's just for kids. Well, it just isn't. I mean, my demographics are surprising. Recruitment marketing is the other place. So you want to attract people. You can also use it directly to recruit people. So if you send a message to someone that's video, it's huge. Goes a long way, separates you out from the millions of other emails they're getting. Marketing and communication. So this is like internal, right? Like uh, people will get excited. Your own employees get excited and they get behind your brand when it's posted online. And you get other people involved. It's huge, right? Like think about all those people who are involved in that first video. They all have a sense of pride, like, hey, I was part of this. It's not just like marketing working off in a corner. It's you're actually getting people on your team involved. And it's the same with those internal communications as well. So Yeah, and that's the great thing about a platform like JobPixel is you can use it for all of these things. Like it's not just recruiting, it's not just employer branding, it's everything in between. And you probably send funny videos to people too, like your friends.
Well,
It's
even I
not
mean,
a use
even
case.
internal mobility, being able to message to people about training that's coming up, and just I mean, again, it's just a better communication mechanism, and to be able to remind people, nudge people, do that kind of thing, just make it. It makes it again. It's a little bit more intrusive, but that's good because people want that. They want to consume it, right? Maybe switch it up for the people who actually, they do the messages as opposed to just one person. But other than that, I mean, I think it's great. It's not going to change from somebody being a candidate to somebody being employee. They're still going to consume video, right? So if that is how they consume video, well, give them what they want.
100%. I love it. Well, we're gonna look at another video here, and this is let's see, it's this so this is AI dubbing.
The
So check this
environment in
out.
our store is built around common purpose. Everybody does a really great job of having each other's backs, helping teams sell and step in.
This is crazy, by the way.
El ambiente en nuestra tienda se basa en un propósito común. Todo el mundo hace un excelente trabajo apoyándose mutuamente, ayudando al equipo a vender y a intervenir.
Like this is incredible. So for anyone who wasn't following that, you can now create a video in English and have it dubbed. So this is great for like international comms. This is great for recruiting talent. If you're looking for Spanish speakers, maybe it's contract laborers in concrete. Maybe it's people who are in whatever field. Maybe you're trying to connect with international talent. Whatever it is,
Yeah.
you now have that ability to where you do not need to learn a language, which is huge, right?
So Omar, real quick question: how much audio do you need to be able to mimic the person's voice in another language?
About 10 seconds.
Yeah, which is crazy because I had to do 3 hours of AI training with my voice so that we could do 4 different languages with the Chad and Cheese podcast. 3 hours. Yeah, that was crazy. So now the tech has just gotten so crazy good that 10 seconds, and obviously if there's more than that, I'm sure it just gets better and better.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason that we kind of push towards this is because a lot of our clients use us in over 70 countries at this point, and we see them off and on. They record the same exact video in different languages. So the first phase was enabling caption translation. So the captions in the videos automatically translate to whatever language you select.
Amazing.
Then version 2, which is how do we take those videos and make them actually speak a different language. So we will mimic your style and your voice and how you talk, and literally make you speak a different language. Hopefully in the next couple of quarters, we'll figure out a way to adjust the lips as well, so it matches what you're talking about. So Chad will make you speak Portuguese, especially with that Portugal jersey you're wearing.
Perfect.
I love that though, because it's like also you just are able to make people feel comfortable, right, in their natural language, which is amazing. And I just think like even from like an international like comms like internally for a company that's huge, and it guys goes back to what we said. It's like just video is just engaging, and I think employee engagement is something that a lot of companies, we know it's a challenge, and what I've noticed is video. I don't if I'm gonna see a video or an email from somebody, I get to know them so much more with video. It's just and I've seen this personally. Like I get people running up to me like, "Oh, I feel like I know you," and that only started happening when I created video. Never happened when I created text. So, Katrina said, "Cool and somewhat terrifying."
Of course.
Well, guys, I think let me just I think we're
All
just
right.
gonna open it up now for general questions. So, if you guys have questions, we've got the Job Pixel team here as well to answer any questions about the platform. If you got other questions about just video in general, comments, let us know, and we'll open it up now. Mark, I know you had to go, so sorry to see you go, but thank you for joining us. We love that, and we got some other comments as well. So, any other questions came through the Q&A?
See.
Got one from Tamara on the web chat.
Right.
When creating a talent branding strategy, if you are working for a brand that has serious, let's say sustainable message, i.e., an organic tea company who mostly have spoken about their sustainability, how do you mix in the humor to grab the audience that, but balance the company's serious messaging? I think it really depends on who you are, but humor is really good to draw somebody in. So, being able I don't know what you guys joke about at the tea company, for God's sakes, but being able to take a look at possibly, putting like something that's happening in the world today, and then like assimilating that to tea and just making a joke out of it and having fun with it.
Yeah. A lot of the trends that happen every day. I mean, the Justin Timberlake meme that recently blew up, etc. For example, let's just say this organic tea company. It's like when your tea company doesn't use or the proper soil to grow the tea, they can put a picture of Justin Timberlake in there. So trends that blow up in the world tend to be really effective in attracting people's attention because they've seen it in so many different places. So they can automatically add things that are happening all around the world and then say, okay, like let's figure out a way how to make this humorous, in this example specifically. How
Yeah, that
badly
would be
make tea.
that would be funny. I mean, because obviously Americans are not the place for tea, but that could be the cool part. It's like, you know what, tea really sucks unless you have our sustainable tea, and
Yeah.
whatever.
And
You
and
could
I,
always
and
play off of that.
and I honestly I really lean on your employees and what they're consuming, right? And this is why I
Mhm.
think too, like if you're a recruiter and you don't know like what let's say in healthcare, if you're recruiting nurses and you don't know like the type of content that nurses are consuming, like just lean on your employees, right? And this is under tap. Like I always tell people, like create content that's valuable. Well, how do I know it's going to be valuable for my candidates? Well, number one, ask the current people who work, like what do you find valuable, and learn
Does
from
this
them.
suck? Yeah.
And yeah, and get them get them involved. This is where getting people internally involved is huge. And I think humor, the great thing with it is like everybody has a sense of humor, right? And it's so relatable and it brings the guard down. But I also think going back to the point about consistency, you learn how to do that over time. I don't think this is something that happens on the first video necessarily, although it could. An early video with like Arkansas Children's Hospital. I don't think it was the first video they did. It's probably earlier on in their journey, but now they got the confidence. Oh, we hit this trend. Like now they're going to be going, well, what are other trends that we can catch on to? What are other things that we can do? And that's where the consistency is huge.
Yeah, and Arkansas Children's recently, we had a talk with their director of talent, and they measured some of the performances of the videos and how much it affected their strategy. And their applicant rate is up about 25%, and their hires are up 18%, ever since implementing JobPixel. So yeah, we have the director actually made us a really nice video testimonial recently talking about that experience that they've had with us. But yeah, I mean, look. JobPixel is just a tool that will help you do those things. We always recommend people to go do it on their own, go on LinkedIn, start creating. And then once you want to scale it across your entire organization, we're here to help. But video is important. It's growing at a rate that is more than anything ever you've ever seen in history. People want shorter and shorter and shorter content. That's just the reality of the situation. And people don't Google things anymore. They TikTok things. The other day I had we had a gender reveal, and I was like setting up the big balloon thing that goes around. I didn't go on Google to figure it out. I went on TikTok to see a quick 30-second video on how to like put the balloons in a proper way so they don't fall off the pole. And it was so simple to go to TikTok and watch a quick video of someone instead of reading that how-to guide that is written in text.
Yeah.
So video is the future. It's the present and the future.
Love it.
Yep.
Well, thank you everybody for joining. Seriously means the world that everybody was here, and then anyone who's listening to the recording as well. If you've got questions or if you've got anything that you're wondering, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions. If we're not connected on LinkedIn as well, feel free to send me a connection request and just say I get a decent amount of requests, but just say like, hey, was at the webinar. I'm happy to answer any questions and DMs as well. And I'm glad we were able to figure it out eventually with the video for the video webinar. But
Helpful.
really appreciate everybody's help. Yeah, obviously, Chad, appreciate you jumping in here. Omar and Amanda as well for helping put this together.
Of course.
We're excited.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Later.
See you guys.